This episode, we're going to be staying at Goose Creek State Park, and I'll give you a full review of the park. We got here during lunchtime, so I'm going to eat first before we get started. But stand by for the full review of Goose Creek.
My dogs and my bride, we're living wild and free. On the road for a wild ride, just my love and me. Moving slow from the hills to the sea. Every mile is a memory, exploring in our travel RV.
We are now on our way to Goose Creek State Park in North Carolina. Goose Creek is located near Washington in Beaufort County, and the park is about a 15-minute drive to downtown Little Washington, as they call it, North Carolina. Little Washington is a charming city and will be your go-to place for entertainment, food, and just about everything else you could want. They have a beautiful waterfront, and it's a very charming town. We get ready to arrive at Goose Creek, and we'll be turning right here into the main entry into Goose Creek. If you have a motor home with a car in tow, or if you have a large trailer behind you, don't worry, there's plenty of space in here to get turned around and to get parked. You'll be entering the campground off of State Park Drive, and this is also the same road you'll turn right in about a mile to get into the RV campsite loop. The primitive sites are several miles further into the park. Now a little bit about Goose Creek as we drive into the RV camping area. A side note, historian Kevin Duffus, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, he claims that Goose Creek was the original home for the ever-famous pirate Blackbeard. That's a very interesting take he's got. Blackbeard apparently ruled the Carolinas because he's seen everywhere in these areas that we visited in this part of North Carolina. At least his history is here. Coming up on the right of your screen is the visitor center, and they have a animal museum, if you want to call it that, on display on the inside of all the animals local to the area. Anyhow, Goose Creek has 22 RV sites with full electric water and sewer, with one of those sites being wheelchair accessible, and it's directly adjacent to the Bathhouse. Deeper into the park, there are 14 very large multi-tent primitive sites for a total of 36 campsites overall. But don't be fooled by this number of campsites. Goose Creek is a well-designed and very large campground, and I'd put it up against the best of the private campgrounds. At only $36 per night, maybe a little bit less if you're a senior, Goose Creek is a bargain. Entering Goose Creek can be a little worrisome, but don't. Right up this road here a little bit, you're going to find the entryway. In fact, you can see it just to the right of your screen. You can see one of the camp houses, and they have, I think, about 5 of them that you could rent. But the rest of the sites in here are RV sites, and you simply turn right here to go into the park. If you're going in the hottest part of the summer, have a look at this inlay that I put. The sites in yellow will be full shade at the windshield, and the sites in blue will be partial shade to full shade. That's everything along the right side of this first half of the loop. You can actually tell by looking at the shadows cast from this Google Maps photo. When you go to book your site, you can look at the park site map and get an idea of which site you would like to have. If I could say that one is better than the other, like I have in other videos, I would tell you. But they're all good sites. They all will handle whatever you got to throw at them. And it's just a matter of, do you want to face the sun? Do you want to face away from the sun? Do you want to have a view of the bathhouses? Do you not want to have a view? It's really that simple. Before I decided to document our camping trips through this vlog, we had already stayed at Goose Creek 3 times. It became our go-to getaway, and we'd end up every day in Little Washington enjoying everything it has to offer. There's a very historic hot dog place in Little Washington called Bill's, and if you like a good hot dog, you need to go there. I'll cover that in part B. If you go to get a hot dog, go early. I stood in line 40 minutes to get 3 hot dogs. Coming up here on the right are the bathhouses and bathrooms, and I'll take you inside. These are very clean, very nicely laid out bathrooms and bathhouses. They're clean, the equipment works well, they feel safe, they feel fresh. Let's go have a look inside. Here I'm using a GoPro 9 camera, and it's jerky. I didn't know it at the time, but the camera was slowly failing, and finally failed me when I was in downtown Little Washington. Unfortunately, I don't have all the video for part B, but I am going to do downtown Little Washington in a part C as well when we go back in a few months. It's a great little town. You know, I gotta admit, I like these showers so much, I showered even when I didn't need one. Talk about feeling clean on this trip. I was clean 24/7. One of the big features of Goose Creek is they are keen on their trails, and one of their trails goes through a very long area of marsh area, so it's kind of a boardwalk platform that you walk on what seems like forever. I tried walking it but decided to turn around about halfway when I realized that if I encountered a bear, I couldn't go anywhere. I could jump over into the marsh. So I turned around with my dog, and we went back, and I got my bicycle and went on this trail with the bike. Anyhow, there's a nice little sitting area before you enter the trail. But for right now, we'll just take a quick look at the visitor center, where they do have kind of a wild animal museum inside. It's not my cup of tea, but maybe it is yours. On this particular visit, visitor center was closed, but I do come back, and I will show that when I return. Meanwhile, I'm going to get to the trail and show you a little bit about what this trail looks like. This is called the Palmetto Trail. It's also called Palmetto. Tomato, tomato, take your pick. But definitely check out this trail. I think you'll enjoy it. At the end of this dirt portion of the trail is a screened-in outdoor room that is cool, and when you need to cool off, it's a good place to go in and sit down, get out of the bugs, and relax for a while. I'll show you that too. Now we're going to go ahead and walk on up to the visitor center and go on in and have a look. It has a very large display of animals natural to the area. I have very mixed feelings about whether I'm okay with killing animals to put them on display. It's my hope that they weren't killed to be put on display. I believe in live and let live. I realized at age 71, my current age, I realized how precious living and breathing really is to every creature. And I think every creature deserves to live a full life, killing only when necessary to sustain one's life or to protect one's life. Anyhow, I'll not clutter this up with my opinion. Enjoy another one of my melodies while we look around at this place. Well, I'm going to stop the video there because, frankly, that's all that I can take, folks. It's not my cup of tea. I just wanted to not leave anything out. Let's take a look outside, and we're going to travel deeper into the park, and I'll show you what is available as you go deeper into the park. Hey there, little fella. As I'm heading into the park, the first thing I encounter is a turtle in the middle of the road. So rather than drive around it, I stopped and picked him up and moved him to the side of the road to make sure it's safe. I always do that, even snappers. I do carry a shovel for the snappers, though. We're going to do a drive-through in the primitive camping area, and then I'll take you to the beachfront, which is at the very end of the park. I estimate the park is about 1.5 to 2 miles deep, somewhere thereabouts. The primitive area is about in the halfway point. It's a very long, rocky road drive to get to the primitive area, so I've skipped over most of it. But from this point forward, you have your primitive sites, and they are very large. You're not going to be near anybody, and you could put multiple tents on each site. It's a very large scale, small number, but large sized primitive camping sites. There's not really a lot to show in the primitive area of the campground, so you can discover that on your own when you pick out your site. Now, I don't show it here, but the beach is about another mile further up the road, and we went there in the car. This is now the trail leading to the waterfront. I estimate it's about a quarter mile to maybe a little under a half a mile walk to get from the parking lot to the actual waterfront. Up on the best part. This is a very nice beach area. I came to the beach area several times, once alone and also once with the dogs. I'll be combining those clips together in case you wonder where the dogs are and how they just suddenly show up. They were done at separate times. They're just combined here. We're going to walk over to the water and try not to intrude too much and make this family uncomfortable. But it looks like a great beach. Looks like a great place to spend an afternoon. It's clean. You've got picnic tables. And the water itself is fairly clear. Also, it's pretty shallow. So it's a great place to bring your kids. I'm not suggesting you leave them alone, but it's not deep, treacherous water, at least not on the day that we were here. What impressed me is on one side you have a clean beach-like riverfront that you can play in. Notice those people way out there. Apparently it's quite shallow for quite a ways. But then on the other side you have a lagoon-like body of water with all kinds of life in the water. You can see it if you walk up to it and just look at it. I wouldn't recommend jumping in it, but it's just a great diversity in nature. Goose Creek is a nice park to visit, and it's a good place to call home for a few days while you visit the surrounding attractions in nearby Little Washington, North Carolina, which will be our part 2 of this series. You'll love Little Washington. It's a gem. I was getting ready to close the video, but I realized I forgot to show you the Palmetto Boardwalk. It's an amazing walk through the swamp areas, and they have these tag signs along the way that tell you about the wildlife and what to expect. I was walking here with my dog Cookie, and we got about maybe halfway, and I realized I couldn't see the end when I looked forward, and I couldn't see the end when I looked backward. And it occurred to me, what am I going to do if a bear happens to be on this pathway as well? So I decided to abandon my walk. Call me a chicken if you like, I don't care. And I went back and did this with my bike. It is a great walkway. It's almost worth the stay. I imagine they spent a small fortune building this thing, and they did a beautiful job. I'm not going to show them now, but there are also other trails at this facility. It is a facility of nice trails, and they are long trails through the wilderness, and of course this Palmetto Boardwalk, which I think is a real treat. At the beginning or the end, depending on where you start on this Palmetto Boardwalk, there is a screened-in cool house where you can sit down, catch a cool breeze, even on a hot day. And I'll show you that, then I'll close out the video with a few attractions from our visit to Little Washington. Very hot today. Decided to go ahead and stop and get cooled off under these fans in this covered area. It's nice and cool. It's almost like there's air conditioning in here. Well, that concludes the review of Goose Creek. Now I'm going to show you a few scenes from our visit to Little Washington, which will be part 2, hopefully available next week. I'll be on vacation all week, so I've got to try to figure a way to get all this video edited while I'm gone. I've never tried that yet. Little Washington is rich in history, and they have a wonderfully beautiful waterfront. You might want to spend some time, maybe buy a meal, sit on one of the benches and enjoy it. In 2006, the city of Washington funded an outdoor art project called Crabs on the Move. Large fiberglass crabs were installed throughout the city. Most have been relocated, but 6 can still be found downtown on various corners, mostly along Main Street. Little Washington is a very historic place, and there are a lot of things to do here. One thing is to maybe visit the Slave Museum, which happens to be in a train car right here on this corner. Anyhow, we're at that sad point again. That's the end of this video. But don't be sad. You can tune in next week. And be sure to keep me going by subscribing and liking these videos. If I don't get enough subscribers, I will not keep doing this. It takes a lot of time, but I'm trying to bring you folks some wonderful things to watch. But I need you to subscribe, so hit that button.